It is Wednesday, September 16th. The year is 2020. We are 47 days out from the most important election in world history. I am your host, Alex Jones. Here is the live show feed headline that I hope you share in this critical information war, because the entire Chicoms operation, the entire EU system, the Hollywood system, big tech, and all of their censors are trying to block this intel right now. An active war. Top scientists / whistleblowers confirm China purposely released COVID-19. Communist China and its allies in big tech and the Democratic Party are desperate in their damage control as total proof is put on the table. I would share the News Wars link. InfoWars and News Wars have been under now 14 days of sustained communist Chinese attack. And it's even mainstream news. It's communist Chinese attack against every affiliated Trump website, including us. I'm proud of that, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm proud of you keeping us in the fight. Okay, let's plunge right into what's about to happen. Normally, something this important, I'd say, call your friends, call your neighbors, call your family, tell them tune in. Still do that. When we're done breaking this down in this hour, we'll archive it to band.video. And I suggest you then research everything we say. I just got massive chills. And that you, and that you take action with this, because I'm going to show you what they're scared of. I'm going to show you the facts. I'm going to show you the proof in their own words. I'm going to show you the purchase orders and the hundreds of millions in funding by Fauci and Gates with the Chinese government to create COVID-19. I'm going to show you the IMF World Bank documents confirming it 2 years ago that they produced it and funded it. They even put in their tax receipts for it, because Gates gets money off his own charitable donations. That's how he runs the money laundering. And I'm going to show you the top scientists and whistleblowers from the U.S., Australia, Germany, England, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, Russia. It was India that first exposed it, though. Their top research institute with a CRISPR's editing system, they were able to go right in and scan the RNA genome of COVID. 5 viruses spliced together. And it's got surprises. It's a real virus. It does kill people, but a low number. Those are deficient and old. There's a key to this, and we've decoded it. We've cracked the code. But first, I'm going to air the censored Tucker Carlson interview that Facebook and others are blocking. Tucker Carlson has tweeted about it. The video is posted on Infowars.com. Facebook saying it's false information and trying to block it. Chinese whistleblower Dr. Li-Meng Yan. Everything she says is already documented. I have over 200 articles and government documents that I will show you proving it after we air the report. But here is the censored video that big tech is desperate that you don't see, because it's an active war by China.
And we're going to do that again right now. Li-Meng Yan is the virologist who says she has evidence about where this pandemic actually came from. We're happy to have her on tonight. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on.
Hi, Tucker. Hi, Tucker. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that you've published some of your research. You're planning on publishing more soon. Give us, for a non-scientific audience, a summary of why you believe this virus came from a lab in Wuhan, please.
Okay, briefly, from my first report, I can present the solid scientific evidence to our audience that this virus, COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 virus, actually is not from nature. It is a man-made virus created in the lab based on the China military discovered and owned the very unique bat coronavirus, which cannot affect people, but after the modification becomes the very harmful virus at now. So I have evidence to show why they can do it, what they have done. How did they do it?
So what you're saying is much more sinister even than we've suggested on this show, than Tom Cotton, than almost anyone suggested. You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint. So you can see the very unusual characters in their genome, which clearly, based on the other evidence they left during the modification, we can say finally this is exactly the one come from their own special bad coronavirus and then target human.
What you're alleging is shocking more even than I anticipated when we invited you on. So I just want to ask the most obvious question, which is this genome presumably is in the possession of many researchers around the world. Why is nobody saying this if it's true?
Yeah, why there is nobody want to say it? It's because of the big suppression come from the Chinese Communist Party government and also their friend in scientific world. So basically, this is very clearly that this virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's hand. So they can never get it from the nature. And there were evidence left in the genome. But the scientific world also keeps silence, work together with Chinese Communist Party. They don't want people to know this truth. Also, that's why I get suspended, I get suppression, I am the target that Chinese Communist Party won't be disappeared.
You're a brave person. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt and assuming you're not an anti-Chinese racist. So it's not clear why Twitter would shut you down or why you're being ignored by the rest of the U.S. media. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Why would the Chinese government intentionally create a virus like this?
Okay, if you want to know the exact motive, the exact idea, I think people have to come to ask them, ask Communist Party, why did they do it? Because they are the one do it. We cannot always understand their evil thinking. You have to come to ask them. But what we see already proves that they have done that. It harmed everyone in the world, lead to the historic pandemic, involve everyone.
How do you believe this virus made its way from the lab in Wuhan outside to the rest of the world?
Okay, first, as I said, I have this kind of solid scientific evidence, and also my next report will come out soon to make you fully understand it is. The other thing is, I work in the WHO reference lab, which is the top coronavirus lab in the world in the University of Hong Kong. And since I get deeply into such investigation in secret from the early beginning of this outbreak, I had my intelligence because I also get my own unique network in China, involve the hospital, institute, and also government. Also, I work with the top coronavirologists in the world. So together with my experience, I can tell you, this is created in the lab. This is from that template owned by China military. And also it is spread to the world to make such damage.
To make such damage, do you believe the Chinese government released this intentionally, on purpose? Did they do this?
Yes, of course, it's intentionally. And even no need more evidence, you already can see what they try to cover up from the early beginning, as I reviewed in different medias before, and also what else they have done, like making the fabricated virus to throw out the natural origin theory, censorship, everything that every evidence point to the lab origins, and also clearly try to make people like me want to talk about the truth get disappeared.
You know, it's hard to be
ladies and gentlemen, like this, the rest of the interview is on Infowars.com, but I have the answers of why they did it and who they were working with. It wasn't just China. It was big tech, it was Bill Gates, it was the UN, and you see their agenda, but I will detail it all on the other side. Now, why is this so important? We'll explain. It will bring them down. Deng Xiaoping, who's followed in the footsteps of Mao Zedong, famously said back in the 1980s that China was willing to absorb a nuclear attack from Russia or the U.S. because they're the only country in the world, in his words, that would benefit from a nuclear war. Remember, it's China, under him as well, that began the one-child policy where they would even come grab your 6-month-old you've been hiding. And if it was your second child, you were a poor villager, they would drown it. Now, the elites could have 5 or 6 children if they wanted to because they were in the Communist Party. But you were looked down on as a poor Chinese farmer, and you would have your daughter particularly taken and killed. If it was a boy, they might take it and put it in a communist orphanage and raise it to serve the state like a robot. Alex Jones here, back live. So why did I just start the segment with that when I just showed you the censored Tucker Carlson interview with a top whistleblower, top scientist that worked in the WHO main lab in Hong Kong? I mean, her credentials, she's been out for 6 months, are spotless. And that's where they have the CRISPR editing systems that only a handful of facilities have. And they can scan right in and tell you exactly, not just that it's manufactured virus, but exactly who made it. This is Blade Runner level technology. You know, where Decker, in the science fiction movie by P.K. Dick, goes in, he says, is this a snake scale? She goes, yes, it's a snake scale made by this person, superior craftsmanship, extremely high quality. That was fiction. This is real. They can go right in with those CRISPR systems, the electron microscopes, and they can tell you what virus it is, what bacteria it is, what gene it is, what sequence it is, what part of the genome it is, and they can edit it in live time. Not just tell you what it is, they can edit it with these little nanotech devices. This is super science stuff, okay? And this is what they admit they've got. You know they're way ahead of that. And so Tucker Carlson goes, well, why aren't others saying this if other facilities know how to read it? Of course, he's very smart. He's opening the chapters for the American people. I have a stack of Infowars.com, GatewayPundit.com, ZeroHedge.com articles from March, April, and May. And February. Actually, there's some from late January, excuse me. We have some from late January where we first interviewed Dr. Francis Boyle and others, who was the author of the U.S. biological weapons law that became world treaty. He talked to his sources, and they said this is 100% manufactured. He said that before the top Indian institute that has a CRISPR system, but they don't even need the CRISPR. They can go in and see it's manufactured. The CRISPR just does the editing. And they said, oh my God, this is a horrible chimera. 5 viruses, including HIV delivery system. And then they threatened to pull all the funding of that Indian university, the most prestigious in India. And the Indians are way up there, barely behind the U.S. and China on genetic engineering. They got top scientists. They're in 3rd place. And they said it's conclusive. Now, why is this so important? We know where it came from. We know who's behind it. We know who funded it. We know who laid it all out. And I'm going to do that next segment. For the public, for the FBI, for the military, because the military brass all knows this. That's why General Milley comes out and goes, we can't prove it's China, because he knows it's an act of war. He knows what's going on. And under law, we have to go to war with China if they have demonstrably launched a bio attack on us. And the fact that communist China has killed more of their people than the Russians under communism and the Nazis under fascism and Pol Pot and all the rest of it, and is just cloning everything and genetically engineering and just chimeras and just bioweapons, and is just completely off the frickin' deep end. Human robots. And the Democrats in Hollywood aren't just wedded to it, they love it. They fetishize it. And their whole religion is about hating America because of that Christian ethos that threatens them.